Welcome to Unlocking Your Truth, another podcast by Dr. Lesley Phillips.
Hello everybody, welcome to Unlocking Your Truth with Dr. Lesley. My name is Dr. Lesley Phillips and we are live in the studio this evening at CIVL on 101.7 FM, broadcasting across the Fraser Valley. And happy Valentine's Day everyone.
Happy Valentine's Day!
Yeah, we hope you're having a wonderful day. And of course, we can't do a show on Valentine's Day and not focus on the theme of relationships. Well, we could, but it seems appropriate that we talk about relationships. So that's what we're going to talk about tonight, is relationships. And I took a look, I have a thing where people can write in and ask me a question for free. It's called afreecardreading.com. You can go there and write me a question for free. And over the last couple of years, I've had about 1,000 people ask me a question. And it's kind of interesting to look at what do people ask about when given that opportunity. And a quarter of the questions I get, around about 25% of the questions that I get are about relationships. So I looked at, well, what are the most common relationship questions that people write in with? And I thought I'd share them with you and a little bit of wisdom about those general questions. Well, hopefully some wisdom.
Okay.
Yeah. So, one of the most common ones I get is about soulmates. Either who is my soulmate, or is, so-and-so my soulmate, or when will I meet my soulmate? And I always find myself explaining, first of all, what is a soulmate? Because I think that there are lots of misconceptions out there about the definition of a soulmate. And so one of the misconceptions is that your soulmate or your twin flame, which is another word, term out there, is it's almost as though your soul is split in half and formed a male part and a female part. And then that male and female part of your soul is wandering the planet looking for its other half.
But that's actually taught in some of the metaphysics circles. That there was a planet before, and there was a jealous god on these people that were there, and so on this one god, they were jealous, and he was jealous or she was jealous, and so what this god did is split this person in two and put them on the earth and said, go find each other. You never heard that one?
I haven't heard that particular story, no, and I personally don't subscribe to that
Neither do
information.
Neither do I.
So what my definition of a soulmate is, and here's the thing, your soul is so much greater than you. So you are a projection of consciousness that comes from your soul, but your soul creates many lifetimes. So your soul is creating the life that you're living now, many past lives, many future lives, and also has the capability to create a parallel life. So it's possible for a soul to create more than one body on the planet at the same time. That is what a soulmate is. A soulmate is a body personality that emanates from the same soul. So all your past lives are soulmates, all your future lives are soulmates, and if your soul has created more than one body on the planet right now, that individual is your soulmate. It's closer than a brother and a sister to be a soulmate. You come from the same soul. Now, another belief that's out there is if I meet my soulmate, that's just going to be bliss forever. And actually the opposite can be true, because the soul's purpose for creating a lifetime is maximum expansion. And so when two soulmates meet, then that can be a recipe for maximum expansion, which doesn't happen if everything's even keel. So a soulmate can often be somebody that stretches you the most. But I think what most people are actually really meaning to ask when they ask about a soulmate is just that someone who's perfectly suited to me.
Really special.
Yeah, somebody special in my life that would be a good partner for me. And usually the people we meet in our lives are what we might rather call a member of our soul group. So we tend to incarnate over and over again with people from the same soul group. And that doesn't necessarily mean that you're from the same soul, but it just means that you're, sort of friends, soul partners that incarnate bodies are in the same time and space and have multiple experiences together. And that can explain when you have that strong feeling when you meet somebody for the first time. It's like you knew them before because you do know them on a much deeper level.
Can you add to your soul group and detract from your soul group? I wonder.
Yeah, I would say that's possible, but I would say that that's possible to do that.
Yeah, I would, because not everybody's going to come around as long as I might come around. They may just pop off,
That's true.
Because I've met my soul group. There's about 20 people in it. 20 spirits in it, not people. Spirits.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so then question number 2 that I get is, why has my relationship changed? When we met, it was amazing. I thought that this was my soulmate, and what happened, right? Because now we're triggering each other, or now we're drifting apart. And so what happened? And a common explanation I have for that is that when you meet somebody and you have that recognition on a spiritual level, and you have that enthusiasm and you have that passion, what it does is it raises your vibration. And for the beginning part of your relationship, you're riding the waves of this super high vibration and you feel fantastic. You feel wonderful that you've met this person. And you also tune in to that spiritual level of recognition of the love that exists between the two of you, because perhaps you belong to the same soul group. Right, here's my friend, here's my buddy again. And then what happens is physical reality happens, and what happens is people's personalities come through. And little by little, you start triggering each other. Little by little, you fall into the patterns of physical behavior based on emotions or based on your intellect. And then the vibrational frequency starts to normalize or come down, and you start to respond to that, the personality level of the person as opposed to the spiritual vibration of the person.
Because a lot of it has to do with what your definition of love is as well. When two people meet initially and quote unquote fall in love and all that goes through, people's definition of love are different from each other.
Yeah,
and they could have a tendency to change. Well, love means we both like bubblegum ice cream, and that's what love is. Like, we like the same things, and then you find out later, but this person doesn't like this stuff, and this, and so what happens is and that can go with spiritual awakenings and things like that. We all grow differently in different spaces and directions.
Well, that's true. That the second reason, the second thing that can have happened is, of course, we are not static. We are all constantly growing and expanding. And if two people grow and expand in the same direction at the same pace, or roughly so, then they can remain in partnership. But if one grows faster than the other, or one grows in a different direction than the other, pretty soon the vibrational match isn't there anymore. And that's the drifting apart thing that can happen. Okay, and then just following on from that, I've also had questions that say, I'm attracted to person X beyond my control. What's going on? And sometimes it's a celebrity they don't even know. Sometimes it's a friend or a colleague or an acquaintance. And sometimes the person asking is married or in a relationship, being attracted to someone else, and sometimes that they are single. And what I've actually found much of the time that I get a question like that is it is recognition of someone in your soul group, and it's recognition of somebody that you've had many past lives with. And so in order to get that under control, one of the main things is about getting yourself in present time with that person and who you both are today, because it's usually because the energy's out of present time, and that's what the strong pull is about. And then question number 4, common question number 4, should I stay or should I go?
Yeah.
Should I stay or should I go? After years of being together, or maybe after the kids have grown up, or how you feel about each other has changed, or something's happened that they're struggling to forgive about somebody. And of course, that one is usually a unique set of circumstances with a unique answer. And but usually someone isn't asking that unless there is either the person that they're with is causing them some kind of pain in some way, or invading their space so they feel smothered, or one of them's grown and the other one hasn't. The person asking the question has grown and is growing more rapidly than the other person is just not changing, and they're not willing to move on from certain stuck characteristics that they have. And then, common question number 5 that I get about relationships is, how does person X feel about me? How does so-and-so feel about me? Do they love me? Will they call me? Will we get back together? So how does somebody feel about me? And usually what I like to do is say, well, how do you feel about them? How do you feel about them? Because that's more important than how do they feel about you. And question number 6 is, are they cheating on me? Did my partner cheat on me? And again, first thing I do is why do you want to know that? Why is it important for you to know that? And sometimes it's important so that somebody can move on. Perhaps the partner's passed away and they just want to move on. They want closure. Or sometimes it's because it's after a breakup and there's a level of uncertainty about what happened. Or even they're still married and wondering if it might still be going on, or they want to be in possession of the full facts in order to make a decision about what to do about it. And, in a way, both of those questions, the person is focusing on outside of themselves. Or, so as opposed to being centered within themselves and within their own power, it's really about looking at somebody else's impact on them, as though as though they don't have any control over it, and they do. Which brings me on to the next question, which is, I get lots of future time questions. Will I get married? When will I get married? Will I meet somebody soon? How's my marriage going to turn out? What's it going to be like in the future? Will I get divorced? When will I get divorced? And all of those questions assume that the future is predetermined, assume that you have no control over your life, that it is fatefully delivered by some greater force. And that's simply not true. The truth is you create your reality, and your reality can be completely under your control. And so if you want to create a relationship or end a relationship, or whatever it is that you're wanting to do with respect to a relationship, if you're wanting to create a change, attract somebody, then look within. Because what you attract into your life, whatever is in your life looking straight at you, is a vibrational match for who you are now. So if you want to change that you're single, or if you want to change that you're with a cheater, then change yourself, because you cannot change anybody else. And then sometimes I get a question about which one should I choose between person A, B, and C. Which one is the best prospect? And then I'll just look at the energy of the different individuals. I remember once I got one lady who asked that question, and then she went on to ask that question about 10 different men. It was quite hilarious. But anyway, yeah, so sometimes people are looking for they're wanting to find the perfect person, and they don't trust themselves to tune into their own intuition about it. So they're looking for some external validation or somebody else to tell them who to choose. And then, of course, the two other questions I get, number 9 and number 10, is questions from people recovering from abuse in relationships. So whether it's been sexual abuse, violence, verbal, mental, emotional abuse, that can be something that impacts somebody very, very deeply. And if they've attracted a relationship into their life that's abusive, it often is because they had abuse in their childhood and they haven't healed themselves from that. So what we end up doing is going into healing the abuse that happened in the childhood, so that we can let go of the abuse that happened later on, so that we can change the vibrational frequency of that person's energy field, so they are no longer a match for an abusive partner. And then finally, people ask about their children. And it can either be, will we have children together? Or they're having a baby and they want to know more about that soul that's coming in. Or what can we do about our kids because they're getting themselves into trouble in some way? Either they're taking drugs, they're getting involved in crime, or some other problem. And, and we want to help our children. So happy Valentine's Day. I hope that wasn't depressing. Talking about problems at the end there. But those are really the 10 most common questions I get about relationships. People looking for love, wanting to attract a partner, wanting to decide about a partner, whether to let go of a partner, and so on. And one of the things that I guess I've learned from inviting people to ask those questions is the 3 most common things that people want to know is why am I here? What's my purpose? And knowing my purpose, what should I do as a job? And then who's going to accompany me on this journey called life? Nobody wants to be alone. Everybody wants to make connections with other human beings. So I'll leave it there. We'll go to a break. Hello everyone, welcome back to Unlocking Your Truth with Dr. Lesley. And I believe we have Lana on the line. Hi Lana.
Hi Lesley, how are you?
Good. Happy Valentine's Day.
Yeah, it's funny you're talking about this topic because this is what I wanted to call in about. So this guy I'm seeing is real name Colin. We broke up for a couple weeks and we're sort of back together, but it's not like we're official, serious boyfriend and girlfriend, but I'm more interested in, like, I really feel, even when we weren't talking for a couple weeks, I really feel like he's always in my space, and I'm really distracted by him. And also, well, that's just one point of it, but also I notice, like, it's kind of like a bit of an emotional up and down for me, and I'm not sure if it's because my issues are being triggered, and that's a good thing, or if it's just, like, maybe the relationship might be toxic. Like, I'm just trying to make sense of what's kind of happening, because, there's a lot of stuff that seems to be coming up all the time and between us. And
okay, I'll take a look. I'll take a look at the two of you. So give me a moment. And I'll tune into you, and I'll tune into him. So I can see what you're talking about in terms of feeling triggered, and it looks like it's well, for sure you've got some of your own stuff coming up. So it looks like there's some pain being triggered within you, and emotional in nature, and also it looks like your body is feeling like it has to defend you and protect you. And so it looks like you, in some ways, it looks like you overreact. And I don't mean that as a judgment, but what I mean by that is that the body reacts so strongly because there's some underlying other stuff that happened before that hasn't been cleared out. And so, let's see. Could you give me some information about the kind of stuff that's coming up?
Well, it seemed like I wanted to sort of be, I don't know if serious is a word, but more official, and he's not doing that, and then so that kind of bothered me, and then other times it doesn't bother me.
Yeah, so it's rejection. It's the pain of rejection. It's the pain of rejection, the pain of feeling unworthy and not good enough is the pain that's being triggered in your space. And so what I would suggest is focus your self-healing on releasing the energy of rejection and unworthiness and not being good enough. Because what's happening is, while that gets triggered, that's almost like the energy signature that you are putting out, right?
Uh-huh.
And of course, you know that you see the world through your energy field, and the world sees you through your energy field.
Uh-huh.
And so if it's up and it's triggered, then yes, use it as an opportunity to say, look at what's in my space. I'm going to clear it out. And I'm seeing that sometimes your energy might get in each other's spaces, but more than anything else, you're wanting to clear rejection, unworthiness, and not feeling good enough.
Uh-huh.
So that you're not a target for relationships that make you feel that way in the future.
Yeah. I know he changed when that starts really coming up. At different times, he really changes towards me.
Yeah, because he's responding to the energy vibration, and so it looks like that energy vibration is a lower energy vibration than his natural frequency, and so he's just responding to the shifts in your energy, and so it looks like. And of course, there's a seriousness type of energy attached to the idea of making things, well, let's see. I'd also just advocate letting go of the vibration of seriousness, because that's also a heavy, low vibration. So the more that you can be light, the more that you can be amused, and the more that you can let go of the self-worth issues, and not pin so much on this particular person or this particular relationship working out, but just say, hey, this is a great adventure and I'm learning a lot about myself, and how my vibrational frequency is and how that affects other people. And I'm learning a lot about how to get what I want, because I see that when my vibration is lower, I don't really get what I want, but when my vibration is higher and lighter, I do get what I want. So therefore, let me control my energy and my energy frequencies in my energy field by healing myself, because then I get what I want. Does that make sense?
Right, okay. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Great. All right.
There's nothing about him I need, maybe anything for him that's coming up or that might help me, I don't know.
Well, that's the main thing. The only other thing I was seeing is it looks like there's an energy cord in the second chakra, and that, let's see why that's there and whose that's coming from.
Oh, and his?
Both of you,
Okay.
from your second chakras, are connecting.
We're connecting.
On that level, which is the sexual, emotional level. Well, it's just that kind of checking you out thing. You know, I'm checking you out on that sexual level. I'm checking you out on that emotional level. But I'm seeing that while you allow that energy cord to be in place, then you're experiencing his emotional reality and his sexual reality as well as your own. And so you would feel less distracted and more clear if you would release that energy cord, so that you're not having his sexual and emotional energy in your space as well as your own, and then you would get clearer about yourself as well. And the same thing for him. All right.
Okay, thanks a lot.
Oh,
Appreciate your help.
you're welcome, Lana. All right, well, thank you for calling.
All right, okay, bye.
Bye. Oh, well, that's great. And now we actually are going to do a reading for Nurse Katie from the Johnny K Show. And yeah, so she was going to have a past life reading today. So that's going to be a lot of fun. Hi, Katie.
Hey, how are you?
I'm good. Are you looking forward to this?
Yes.
Okay, great. All right, so let's give you a past life reading, and then the listeners can get a sample, get a taste of what that is like. All righty. So all you need to do is just sit and relax and keep your eyes open, and I'll check into your energy and give you some information.
Okay.
All righty. So I'm just tuning into Nurse Katie, everybody. And the first thing I do is I like to look at you in the current body personality and what the main growth cycle that you are in right now has to do with. And it's so funny because we were talking a little bit earlier before the show, and you said, well, I'm sure that I'm a healer. And the main growth cycle that I'm seeing you be in at the moment has to do with healing.
Yeah, myself.
Yeah. Healing and also bringing as much of your own information, higher information and higher wisdom about healing into your body, so that you can be operating directly from your own intuitive information about what's appropriate for you. And so I'm seeing that. Let me just see what else I can tell you about that. Well, it feels like a gathering in, like I just need to know as much as possible about how to heal myself. And I'm seeing that sometimes you're looking outside of yourself to other places where you think the wisdom is. And the wisdom is within you. The wisdom comes from your higher self, from source energy. And I'm seeing you're not always recognizing how much you really do know about healing, and not just from the current life, but from higher aspects of yourself. And so I'm seeing by tuning in to the inner voice inside you, and by tuning into your body and your body's messages, that's the most rapid route to healing the body, is that body-spirit communication that happens within you. Doesn't come from outside of you at all, actually. All right, so I'm just taking a deeper look at that idea of communication, and then we'll look at some past lives. Okay. Well, the other thing that I'm seeing that is coming up is, because you have training as a nurse, right?
Yes.
Your training as a nurse is coming up. And it's this idea of, when everything's put into neat little boxes, and the body's like this, and this organ operates like that. And I'm seeing that you're working on letting go of limits, the limits that came from your intellectual training in nursing. about medicine and about the human body and how the body heals, and also what is accepted within the conventional medicine and what isn't. And it looks like you're just wanting to let go of all of those limits and just find, what do I believe? Okay, well, that's what the system believes, but what do I believe? What works for me? So you're on a quest to find what works for you. And then we're going to look at some past lifetimes. And I just mentioned that you're an old soul, and you have a really long timeline in terms of how long you've been here incarnating in a body, and you've had many past lifetimes. And I'm going to look for the ones that are most relevant to what's going on with you right now. And a lifetime is lighting up in the very upper area of your timeline, which means it's a relatively recent past life. And I'll take a look. Look for a symbol. Well, I'm actually seeing a lifetime where you were a mother. And it looks like around the 1940s-ish, maybe a bit earlier than that. And you have a son who has polio. It's the time when polio affected people more than it does today. Might even be a bit later than that. But it looks like the 40s. And I'm seeing that this child is it's rickets is the disease that polio. He's got rickets, and so he's got some issues with his skeletal system, or his musculoskeletal system, and I'm seeing that he's quite sick and bedridden, and you're nursing him to health. I'm watching you feeding him sort of like chicken broth like this. And it looks like you poured all your energy into, you loved him, your son, so much. And you poured all your energy into, how can I heal my child's body so that he can have a wonderful life? And it looks like you learned a lot from that relationship in that lifetime, because, and you actually learn, and one of the things that you learned was, you are not your body, because that child's body was not, it looks like he spent lots of time bedridden, and when he wasn't bedridden, he couldn't move around very easily. And yet there was a spark of, just a spark of light and passion and interest and curiosity and all of these wonderful aspects of him that existed apart from the physical body. And so I'm seeing that relationship between the two of you was very much about learning about body-spirit communication, which is the main growth cycle that you're in right now, learning within yourself about body-spirit communication. And you learned that what was, in a way, more important, or at least equally important as taking care of that body, was taking care of the mind and the belief system. Because it's like the more he believed in himself, the more he could do. And the less he believed in himself, the less he could do. And so in nursing him back to health, as much to do with his belief system and your own belief system as it did anything else. And I'm seeing that you worked with this child on the level of his belief system. And it looks like you spend a lot of time reading books together, but sort of almost like fantasy books where you could visualize, imagine this and imagine that, and imagine yourself doing this and imagine yourself doing that, because that going into that realm of the imagination was going into the realm of the beliefs and really being able to feel into possibilities without going into Yes, but how could I ever, because my body is like this. So I'm seeing that you're integrating what you learned from his experience and your own experience into the current life so that you can use it in your own healing work right now. And I'll quickly do one more lifetime and then we'll go to a break. So let's see if there's one more that wants to come up. And there is, and it's actually also a very recent lifetime near the top. And I'm seeing a fountain. And I want to say that this is actually a lifetime in Paris. And, we were talking about parallel lives earlier in the show, and it looks like it's a similar time frame to the one I've just read. And let's see who you were. You're in a male body, and you are an artist. And it looks like you went to art school. You trained to be an artist. So you learned about anatomy and how to accurately represent the human body on canvas and in sketching. And it looks like you did. It's not called. I don't know if it's still called still life when you have a nude model that sits there and you sketch them. But I'm seeing you do that, and I'm seeing you really get into the anatomy of the body and how it all combines together. And it just looks like you had a passion for the body, how it moves, how the muscles work, and all of that. And you developed a strong foundation in that before you went into your own creative expression of your art. And it looks like actually you painted more classical stuff, people on horses and things like this. But I'm seeing you bring up that past life because you're also integrating information that you learned from that past life about the functioning of the body and the posture of the body and how the different parts of the body move and connect together. So, Katie, I hope that was fun for you. Oh, good. Great. So I unfortunately have to go to a break right now, but thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're really welcome. Everyone, welcome back to Unlocking Your Truth with Dr. Lesley. And if you're interested in past life readings, go to drlesleyphillips.com. There's a ton of educational information about past lives that you can read and learn about. So I believe I have another caller on the line. Hello, caller.
Hello, Dr. Lesley.
Hello, who am I talking to?
Elise.
Hello, Elise. How can I help you today?
I actually had a past life question.
Oh, cool. Thank you.
I want to know about a couple of people in my life how I knew them in a past life, to maybe explain my instincts and my relationships with them.
Okay.
Would you like their names?
Yes, please.
Elaine. Elaine's actually passed over now, but she was a big influence in my life. Annette and Sky.
Okay. Well, we'll do what we can with those three people. Let me see if I can find a past life that you were all in together, and that will give us... Okay, so let me just tune into you. Okay, yeah, so actually there's a past life that's coming up that's about a third of the way down your timeline, and you also have a long timeline. So let me just see. Well, it actually looks like a tribal lifetime, and I feel like it's in Africa somewhere, actually. And actually, let me see if it's Africa or if it's Australia. Give me a second. No, it's in Australia. So it looks like you were Australian Aborigines in one of the tribal groups in Australia, and let's see what I can see about you. Now, I'm seeing you're in a male body, and at the time I'm looking at you, you're a young man, and well, it looks like Elaine for sure was a member of your kin or your ancestral line. Possibly a grandmother or a great-grandmother. Somebody who you knew for a portion of your life, but not for the whole of your life, but who left a strong memory it actually looks like they had almost like symbols or carvings, or symbols where the energy of the ancestors were captured within, if that makes sense. So they might have like a bark painting that tells the story of a particular ancestor, and I'm seeing that you had there was a symbol that represented this grandmother that it was almost like an energy portal that you could continue to communicate with her consciousness through. So even though the body had passed, the connection between the two of you remained.
That's so fun.
Yeah.
Elaine was my grandmother.
Oh, pretty cool.
In this life.
Yeah. All right.
And I still get messages from her.
Okay.
In funny ways.
Well, that's great.
Wow.
That validates that then. Okay, well, let me see if I can find Annette and Sky. Okay, so I'm actually shifting to a different lifetime, one that's more recent. And it looks like it's in the wartime, when they used to have to put the blackout curtains up. Seeing you be in a female body, and I'm seeing you have a child, which is a male child, and the child is Annette.
Okay.
In a male body, and it feels like Sky might also be in a male body, and I'm not sure if she's your husband or your brother, but she's somebody, a male person that's close to you. And I'm going to go with it. Well, I was going to say husband, but it might. It's sort of like a close relationship that you might be husband and wife, but it's but also friends, like a companionship type of love as well at the same time. And he is away fighting, and it looks like he is a pilot, right? So a fighter pilot, and so you are torn between your well, it's sort of your concern for both of them and your responsibility for both of them in an odd way, and it's sort of like that tears you apart, because on the if you're focusing on the one who's away fighting, wondering what is going on, then it feels to you like, well, I'm not putting my best foot forward for the child. But then if you're focusing on the child, it's like, yeah, but I mustn't forget that my partner, is out there fighting. And I'm seeing that you, the main thing that you were working on in those relationships had to do with responsibility, and also how do my thoughts affect the outcome of a situation? How does what I do affect the outcome of a situation? How do my actions going to, and with the child, it looked like he had lots of questions about what was going on, and sometimes was frightened, and so you were very much concerned with how I present myself and how I respond to the child, so that he, I, it's the best that it can be in this situation. So it was responsibility really that comes up, and I can't really do much of a longer reading than that, I'm afraid, just because of the time limit on the show.
That's all right. No, it actually explains quite a bit, especially with Annette, the protective instinct. She's actually my mother in this life.
Oh, interesting.
And I am very, very protective, and that whole responsibility of what I present. I as a teenager, I hid a lot from my mother so as not to upset her.
Right, that's what you did with that child, of course. Right? Yeah.
So that makes so much sense.
How about with Sky? Who is Sky in the current life?
She's my best friend, and we have only actually known each other a couple of years, but it feels like we've known each other forever, and we've just had that instant connection, instant friendship, and I was curious as to know what she might have been to me in a past life, but.
So we gave you a quick glimpse. It looks like you've had other past lives with her, and it looks like I'll just validate the relationship goes back a long way in time. And I'm unfortunately I have to wrap up because we have to make way for Johnny K.
For Tudor Johnny K and Nurse Katie on the vinyl spinner lives on.
Yes. So bye for now, everybody, and bye, Elise, and thank you for calling.
Bye. Thank you very much.
Bye. All right, everybody, we'll see you next week.
Thank you for joining us. You've been listening to another Unlocking Your Truth podcast by Dr. Lesley Phillips. For more information, go to her website at drlesleyphillips.com. That's drlesleyphillips.com, where you can ask questions or send her an email, and there's many free gifts on there for you as well. Come back again.